Good morning, traders. The morning video, real quick here. I do want to point out this morning we have a contract row happening in the futures contracts, and currently, because of the higher price on the new contracts are technically breaking out to going to be a brand new opening all-time high price. Currently here at 4:37 in the morning. That's what we're currently doing on ES futures, a potential all-time high opening price here on ES futures, largely due to the contract row. So Friday made a lot of sense. We had a double top in the markets, and we found responsive selling, and for a few reasons here. One, you had the double tops. There was responsive selling at that prior high, so getting a sell off at that prior high made some sense. But also, by bringing it down, in theory, we weren't going to be in blue sky territory in ESs, in NQs going into the open of today's session. Uh, there is a massive call wall at 7,000. So the market makers are actively trying to suppress price and allow theta to burn off on those contracts. They've been uh, uh, adding about 100,000 contracts at 7,000 a day. So it keeps building and building and building. The belief is that, if and when we can start breaking through that 7,000, there's going to be a massive uh, uh, squeeze, potential squeeze above 7,000, given uh, how much of a call wall there has built up at that price point. That's what's happened repeatedly for years now. We get to, but we've not quite had a call wall of this size in a few years here. So you have to be very mindful of that. Anytime you have a massive call wall, you got the people, the mom and pops of the world. They're buying up those options at 7,000. Okay, but then you have Wall Street selling those options at 7,000. So you got a push and pull between Wall Street and Main Street. And whenever these targets get really big, you know, historically Wall Street's the one that wins. So the longer Wall Street can suppress price under 7,000, like possibly into mid January, instead of the end of this year, that's going to cause a lot of theta decay, which that will ultimately feed right back into Wall Street's pockets. Okay, because if you think about it, the option market is really unfair because it's like you're going to an auction and you're actually telling you're telling the market, the auctioneer, or you're telling the buyer, hey, you're announcing the price that you're willing to accept, you're wanting the 7,000. You're telling the auctioneer and the buyers where you want to be buying options at the 7,000, especially as this thing's getting bigger. So it's really unfair in that regard for a buyer of the options because you're seeing this great big uh, uh, bundle of people willing to buy a 7,000 strike. So that gives the seller the opportunity to say, "Hey, we'll just get this price underneath there." On the because the theta decay. Now, true auction, you don't have the theta decay, but uh, yeah, it just gives you some idea. You think of if you're going to an auction, you're buying perishable goods, because that's what options are. They decay because of the theta decay. Okay, so if you're going to an auction, and it's like you're going, it says a produce auction or something like that. Hey, we want to sell all this produce, uh, you know, that's a really good example of produce auction, you know, and theta decay, the comparison. You know what I mean? Uh, so just be very mindful of that. It's really a little bit unfair, if you're an option buyer for the 7,000 strike, and ultimately, if we get through it, yeah, there's likely to be a massive squeeze above it. But my main point being, Main Street or Wall Street is trying to make sure that they can keep us under the 7,000 strike for absolutely as long as they possibly can. So we could very well not be going through it this week. Okay. Now, I do want to point out here, like on the ESers, nothing's really broke. We had that big sell off Friday. If you zoom in here, see we actually on the weekly time frame. Okay, uh, we got a double bottom last week. So basically, that's all we got. We got a double bottom on the ES futures last week. Okay, that's actually suggesting that's confirming a uh, higher low on the ES futures. So this is actually a very bullish structure, given to where we bounced, where we did for the double low last week, and now look what we're doing with the contract row. We're gapping above it this morning. So let's definitely keep that in the back of our minds going forward here. Look here on the ES futures. Now, if you bring that over to SPY instead, things do look a little bit different. Now, because you don't have that contract row comparison, you know. But we did close, so we didn't even quite put the an equal low in last week. Okay. Uh, so definitely keep this one on watch. I don't even think I got the after hours on yet. I don't know if it's showing the, let's see, equities. Yeah, it's on. Well, on the weekly, it's not going to show it anyway. So yeah, so let's definitely keep that on. So we even didn't actually put a hard double bottom on the SPY, but we are putting a hard double bottom on the ESs this morning, given much more credence to a supportive low here in the ESs. NQs, if we go over here on the NQs, go on the weekly, zoom in here. NQs, we actually made a slight lower low, but we in the intraday, but we closed for basically a double bottom on the ES futures. Okay, so this was showing a little bit more weakness. Um, Technically an engulfing candle. Okay, we are opening inside a range this morning. So now this is on the based off the new contracts. Okay, so be very mindful of that. Now, if you go over to the QQs, whoops, Qs. And it's important to have both charts. Keep an eye on both charts today, So, we do have a engulfing. Yeah, so we do have an engulfing candle. Saved a 20 SMA this morning on the Qs. Okay. Uh, we are gapping up on the Qs themselves. Look at that. We're up, almost 3 points on the Qs this morning. How many points are we up on SPY? SPY is up almost 3 points as well. So be very mindful of that. Changing these back real quick. Back over here. Okay, guys. So a few little things I'm talking about. So nothing about this. We're saving the daily 20. Getting a back test of the daily 20 was really important. We do have that in now. We could be heading into blue skies territory. So we have to be very mindful of that going into today's session. We got a hard double bottom in. Exactly what the market may have been looking for. So be very mindful of that as well. We don't have that many breaks in the market. Some things that I was looking at here, you got Oracle last week. This was a very important level right here on Oracle. We broke that. So Oracle, it did close very weak. We're at 190 this morning, right into these prior highs. So we're still not in horrible territory. Below the 201 is problematic for Oracle. So let's definitely keep this one on watch. This one here does give signs of a broken pattern. So definitely keep that on watch. Then we have Netflix. It was given signs of a broken pattern. I did trade this Friday. We are going up a little bit this morning. Uh, so I was trading this first thing out of the gate Friday. We were breaking this downtrend here. We were breaking out of that. Came up right up into this. This here is really your buy point, in my opinion. It's staying above 96.34. We're currently not even trading above that. But I definitely keep this one on watch, looking for that being a dead cat bounce here on Netflix. if we can start holding price above the 96.30 area. We immediately found sellers there Friday, but were also on a bearish tape, broad bearish tape. But we just could not find any supporting bids in Netflix yesterday or Friday. So, but I did trade that for that win right there. I made a 100% win on that trade right out of the gate Friday morning. So yeah, that was I don't know, about $1,000 on that trade, only 10 contracts, something like that. So that was a really nice win here on Netflix Friday morning. Things happening this morning. I haven't even listened to the news yet. I'm doing this video before the news. Let's check on the futures. Looks like really light volume here at 5 o'clock in the morning. A lot of measure that way. Okay. So the futures this morning. Let's check out the bond markets real quick. So the bonds, we're right down here at these lows, but we're at support. Technically support is support until it's not. We're still at monthly resistance. Okay, so we're trading right below monthly resistance here on the ZNs 10-year. Okay, uh, you know, that doesn't mean we haven't technically broke down. It just means we are at a so let's see. I don't want to do that. Let's see here, right here. I would say this here is our support area. And we're currently trading right above that support area. Okay. So that we don't have, we came down, trying to put a higher low off that support, ZNs, bounce off that. That brings our yields down. So let's definitely keep that one on watch. A potential, we are still right at the monthly resistance area. So it's not in blue, it's not in great territory yet. But something to definitely keep in the back of our minds going forward here. On the markets wise, it looks like Tesla is active this morning, a little bit higher bid in the two-time ETF on Tesla, trying to break into blue sky territory this morning. Tesla was doing an outperform Friday while everything else was going down. Tesla was trying to break out, and so what we got going on here potentially into blue sky territory. This is now. I can change this. I did not trade Tesla, but man, they just love Tesla. I tell you, absolutely love it. And I've warned before, this driverless vehicle thing. I'm just waiting. I got a scenario out there. I mean, how do you prevent terrorists from, renting a bunch of Tesla cars across the country and, loading those up with ordnance and driving them into populated areas, and I don't understand that. The whole driverless car thing, or what even with a semi, you load a semi up with ordnance, and now you have a driverless semi driving right into a high populations area. I The whole concept, I don't know how they can safely uh, combat that thing, and I don't think they're going to do anything about it until it actually becomes a problem, and that's what really sucks. Well, that's a rant I'm going on. I'm sorry. Uh, Tilray, that's another thing to think about here. This tends to be a late bloomer in any type of trend, so remember that. And that may not be the case this time, but typically, you have a big rally in the markets, you get to the peaks, they look for anything to grasp for a push, and they go to cannabis. Typically, that over and over, this has been happening for years. So I'd be really careful on the whole cannabis thing. Getting everybody excited again for nothing burger. So we're into the 1281. Yeah, we potentially are crossing over a resistance area here on Tilray this morning, potentially crossing over it this morning. So keep that one. So we have to really get above 1354, in my opinion, to be in the clear. 1354 is to be in the clear. So we're at about 1280, something like that. So you're running right into a resistance zone. This has acted as resistance up here before. So yeah, you are running into a resistance zone. So be very mindful of that. Broadcom had earnings there. Got punished there Friday. Looks like it's bouncing a little bit today. This here was our critical support on the red. So we did close below our critical support. So this is a broken pattern in my opinion until you get back above 370 30-ish, 370 30-ish. So in my opinion, is a technical broken pattern. So definitely keep that one on watch. Right here, see this from this push, this is where the regression line started. So prices above that, you're looking for blue skies territories. Below that, you're looking for a back test and fail scenario here on the Broadcom thing. Okay. Nvidia catching a little bit this morning. We are currently trying to push above our regression. So this is definitely one to keep on watch. This could be a very nice uh, uh, buy the dip right off this level early on this morning. So heads up on that one. That'd be one of my top watches this morning. What are we? How about my core tickers down there? Let me go down here and look. Tesla. How about Google? And Google's trying to save support. So technically, until they can prove that this support's being held, this is a breakdown back test. This is a bearish pattern until proven otherwise. So heads up on it. Possible bearish rejection setup here for Google. Apple. What we got going on here on Apple? Not much going on. Apple, Microsoft, channeling sideways. Uh, really below 484. Below 484 is problematic. So this thing could actually be coming back down to these prior lows. So halfway in between the move, you know, uh, there's not really a trade for me on that one. Other things I'm looking at here. Let's go over here. These are the most important sectors of the market, guys. So you got XLF. Okay. XLK is about 40% of the current market. Okay. XLK. If you look at Friday lows 2 weeks ago, we're currently trading below that on XLK. So remember that, guys. So, we're trying to push out in blue sky territory, but XLK, which is 40% of the market, is trading below 2 week ago Friday's low. Okay. So be very mindful of that. Another big important. So we've been pushing higher. We're in blue sky territory for XLF. We didn't even do a hard back test yet. They may still need to do that. We got this breakout going on in XLF. They may need to come down and do a hard back test. So that's potentially a bearish thesis for a hard back test of XLF. XLY, we are trending a little bit bullish this morning. And then XLC. So we got a mixed bag of things happening, just 2 Fridays ago, where we are in relative to that. Uh, Other things I got to look at here is IWM did a very important back test Friday. So we came up blue sky territory. We did a back test. Now we're bouncing off that. So heads up on that. This is potentially closest you can get to that back test here. Uh, closest you can get to 253 is a potential viable dip. As long as we can stay above this, 253 area, as a potential viable dip until proven otherwise. Okay. Other things here. Amazon. Potentially, I think we're below the daily 50 and daily 100 currently. So let's definitely keep this one on watch. Uh, we're trading in a range between 234 and 222.24. So, right here, right now, let's definitely keep this on watch. We have a large negative GEX cluster at 225. We defended that Friday, and now we're bouncing off of it this morning. So let's definitely keep that one on watch. So basically, that's whenever we price action actually below that started to turn negative, and they defended that. So it's kind of neutral to positive currently on Amazon. any other things? Let me think here. AMD, I traded that last week for a big win. Basically, we had this support that failed Friday. We're currently trading below that support. Okay. Uh, you know, technically in price discovery to the downside to prove otherwise. So be very mindful that this is a broken chart pattern. You would be looking for a back test of the 214.70 area, 215 area that would fail until proven otherwise. Um, so definitely look at that. You're not in blue sky territory until you get back above 225. So you're not, so be very mindful of that. This is technically a falling knife till proven otherwise. So heads up on that one. Okay. Final one that I'm going to talk about here, guys. So Meta had a big rejection there Friday, along with everything else in tech land. So basically, below 670 is your trap between 670 and 608 area. In my opinion, that's your current trading range here on Meta. It did hold support so far, uh, so we'll see what happens. You could be trading this here. I mean, yeah, it's definitely you could be trading it, but you're not in blue sky territory until you get over 670. Oh, I'm really interested in this Taiwan Semiconductor. See this breakout point right here? This is a major back test happening on Taiwan Semiconductor. Heads up on that. So that's another one on my top watch this morning. So we got NVIDIA and potentially, so yeah. So definitely keep this on watch as a potential major breakout back test. Maybe they may need to do this before they can set up for new all-time highs. So, heads up on that, as long as the 293-ish holds, or 292-ish holds, I would be looking to the long side as a potential breakout. The only problem is you're literally halfway between your support, which is at 278 basically, and 307, 308. Okay, guys, resistance. So you're smack dab right in the middle of those two levels. Don't particularly like that, the risk reward of that scenario between those two levels. And one final note that I want to mention going into first of the year here, dogs of the Dow theory, and in my opinion, United Healthcare could be very well the dog of the Dow to be keeping a close eye on for the first of the year. So rotation into the worst possibly to kick off the new year. United Healthcare would be one of my very important watches for that scenario. Okay. Thanks a lot. Retweet me if you get a chance, and I will see you in the trading room.